where it's still leading somewhere, but I feel like it answered some of the questions and we're at least seeing a lot of action in one episode, which I am very, very happy about. The episode starts off with the crafter elf. He is, when I watch this, I kind of laugh because here he is. He's just like drinking some tea probably or something to keep him calm. The sun is bright. It's like, oh, this is definitely not real. Not just visually what's going on, but what he's hearing. Everything's serene and great, and he can just easily work. When the opposite is true, it is chaotic. People are dying. The city is coming down. Things are on fire. Like, it's the complete opposite. But I do like that that's how they started the episode. This is just so extremely not real. It kind of pans over. Well, we see where he's working at the table, and then we see all the rings where it looks like the basic part of them is finished. I wasn't sure at this point if he was going to say they're completely finished or if they were going to have jewels and stuff on them like they did for the dwarves, kind of make it something more appealing and worth, these 9 men who were going to be, kings or something like that, to wear something that symbolized that kind of status. And then I kept seeing the mouse. They kept focusing on the mouse. And so I kind of was wondering, is the mouse like another disguise of Sauron? Because when I was watching Lord of the Rings and I was watching an episode about Telvito when Sauron was a cat, I wondered, oh, is this going to be like kind of a homage to that or something? And then he's this mouse constantly checking and having his eyes on him when the crafter elf would have no idea. But I was sadly mistaken. Actually, very sad that that isn't what it was, and that it was just the Matrix. It was the fault of the illusion, the fault of the system, the fault of the computer that he was having these deja vus. That he kept seeing these patterns of things repeating themselves, knowing the candles aren't burning. This mouse does the same exact thing in the same max out of time. It's just the fault of the illusion, which I'm glad he started to see through it, but it didn't make me very sad that they weren't doing like an homage to Telvito. Come on. These little things that break through in the illusion where he can see his real reflection. He knows that the tool he's been using, that's not how that tool looked, because this tool's been used for a long time and it looks practically brand new. So there were things starting to stand out to him where he was realizing that he's under an illusion, which I did like that as well. That I would think that maybe even a real world situation, if you find yourself like being gaslit by somebody or being controlled by somebody, the things that stand out to you are the small things. I don't think you ever see the big things first. You see the small things, and they're like the little cracks in the dam that let you know that something's going on here that is not the best for you. And then we switch over to Adar's armies, where you can see that they're preparing for battle. You can see that they're attacking like the side of the mountain there to dam the river, that this is like a full plan coming into effect. And out of all else, I did not expect to see a Rondir at this part. It wasn't, he did save her in a way because he was shooting arrows at the orcs, but he didn't save her out of that situation that she was bound in. Thanks to the meeting between Adar and Elrond, he was able to give something to Galadriel to help her kind of pick the locks of the handcuffs she was in. So she was able to free herself. To go back to this, because I think I'm kind of skipping around a little bit. Oh yeah, I skipped ahead a bunch. Okay, let's go back. Oh yeah, we see Arondir arrives to see the beginning of the siege of Eregion. Okay, so then we see him later again when he talks with Galadriel. But right now we also get to see, King Durin wants to resend the dwarfs to dig deeper, but they end up siding with Durin the Younger to not do that. And then we also see Elrond meeting with Durin the Younger, which at one point I was like, is this an illusion too? Is this fake too? Because it seems so strange. But I guess Elrond really knew that they needed more help and was asking Durin to help him. In this whole thing, I think there's sometimes, I don't always see so far into an episode or show to be like, this is where this is going. But this whole conversation and all the stuff going on with the dwarfs, I just felt like Elrond is, he's going to get the short end of the stick here, and they're not going to show up. I think this is going to cause some irreparable damage in that relationship and friendship, because a lot of people died off of his word that he would that the dwarven army would come. And I can see that not being so great for them. Okay, so jumping back to the crafty elf, I kind of jumped ahead here talking about how he found out that the candles weren't burning, the mouse was still doing the same thing it was always doing. So then Sauron and Atar, I don't know at what point we're calling him what, but that bag that he showed him was full of mithril, that it wasn't mithril, that it was actually Sauron's own blood. And that's what was put into all the rings. I think making this connection that Sauron is in control of all of those rings, that he's attached to it. My understanding is this was only going to be with like the one ring that he poured, where it says in the beginning of Lord of the Rings movies that he poured all of his malice, all of this into the one ring. He didn't do this with the other rings. So I think this is just a thing the show was doing. It isn't true to the books. It's just a little confusing because I didn't think that's what happened. And I'm also confused if this is really what's happening or if this is another thing that he's trying to trick him with. But I'm not going to go Inception on this. On deception. We're just going to say he deceived him when he told us mithril, because when he left the dwarves, they said they refused to give him mithril. So in fact, was his blood that he had the crafter elf put into all the rings. So we're just going to go with that. It seems like a huge departure from what actually happened, because the Lord of the Rings movies, and I've watched them like 5 million times, it feels like, and that he only did that with the one ring. So it's confusing me. All right. And there's a little bit more stuff that happens in this. Don't care so much. Just going to kind of move forward to when the crafter elf makes it to the wall and is trying to tell people like he is Sauron, like he's not who you think he is. But Sauron already planted the seeds of him losing his mind, because what he is saying sounds absolutely nuts, sounds absolutely crazy. So who would believe him? So that's already working in his favor. But I will tell you, my first oh damn moment of this episode was when he made it look like the crafter elf killed that younger woman crafter elf. Like, just made it look like he just pushed her off the wall, but he just did a little magic thing with his hand and she fell. And then the orc like axed her and she's dead. She's dead, guys. She's dead. That was my first oh damn. I feel like it happened so fast. And it was kind of the elf that was the closest to him. Like, he was being the nicest to her and getting her to do things for him, like rallying the other elves to play along. And the fact that he was just like open, like, she's dead now. Like, whoa, I'm so sorry for the character, of course. But also the actress. She's doing such a good job, and now she's just out of the show. How rude. Yeah, I was like, oh, dang, okay, I guess we're fighting now. But then we have Elrond's army coming in. Kind of mirrors a little bit of Gandalf with the Rohan army and the two towers, like coming up over the edge. I feel like they were trying to do that here. It happened for a few seconds, and then the whole thing stopped because they had Galadriel imprisoned. When she made Elrond promise her, she just let her die, basically. So that was kind of like, yay, we're action, and then it just stops. Kind of annoying. But what I liked about this is it enabled another conversation with Adar. And what I really, really loved about this is that Adar thought that Elrond was going to be just like Galadriel. That maybe he had some vulnerability or exposure to Sauron, that he had something he could easily manipulate in him. But Elrond didn't. And Adar didn't know that. And this was such a kind of comical to me, how much what Adar was using worked 0%. I did think Adar was right when he was like, we do have more men. We will win this. Like, you can't do this by yourself. And I think Elrond knew that, but also he made a comment when they left that he didn't know that they had the Dwarven army to help them. So maybe if the dwarves actually showed up, this could have been true, and this battle could have gone differently. And then we have more of some of the orcs questioning Adar on that he said he loved them, that he values them, but then he's just doing the same things as Sauron did. And in this moment, it just showed me how much even Adar isn't unique or separate from what Sauron can do. He's susceptible as well, and he is more like him than he can even admit to himself. He's doing the same exact things. Oh, okay, and now we're back to where I was. I kind of skipped ahead, and now we're back. We're up to date with Arondir shooting some arrows, kind of freeing her from the orcs that are right there, even though she had already freed herself. And he just wanted to confront Adar right there in the moment. And she actually wasn't selfish and comforted him, gave him value, convinced him to not do that because it would just be a death wish. And I thought that was like, I don't know if we've seen too many moments of her in the show where she's actually caring about other people and not putting herself first. So this was my second oh damn moment in this episode where she actually is doing something for somebody else. And also not, well, I would say not falling in love with him, but I don't think Arondir is very toxic, so she's not really attracted to that. So, yeah. The next line, this is probably a bit, I mean, there's not much to comment on when there's like the fighting scenes and stuff. So, you know, we have the elves, and then we have the orcs, and then it looks like that giant or troll or whatever that thing was in the fight. Then they had some other kind of mechanized things to break the wall down. So we have all of that going on. I did like the action. I don't really know anything to comment on all that. I just kind of like the action when the pace speeds up. So that worked for me. This is going to be another line that just stood out to me where Sauron is talking to Celebrimbor, to the crafter elf. And he says,
I am but a victim of your obstinance.
And I just thought, this must be my third oh damn moment. Like, wow. That is gaslighting to the extreme. I even wrote here, I can't believe he said that. It's the crafter elf's fault that he tortured him. Like, you are being so bad and so hard for me to work with that you've made me treat you more terribly. It's your fault. Like, what a narcissistic gaslighting thing to say to somebody, that if you would have been easier to manipulate, then I wouldn't have been an ass to you. It's just like so extreme. Oh my God. And then the show presents, after this, the show presents for the first time that the rings cannot be destroyed in fire. So we're starting to see some of the lore, some of the book knowledge come into here that these are just not easily destroyed rings. Now, I will say, from the Lord of the Rings movies, we know this about the One Ring. I don't know that we know this about all the other rings, that they couldn't be easily destroyed. But even if this is brought from the One Ring, I do like that we have a nod to that they're not easily destroyed. The crafter elf realizing, like, he's got to do more than what he's doing. Like, now he knows this is Sauron. All he wanted is these rings this whole time. This is, I have to get these as far away from him as possible. Now, in the books, I know I said I wasn't going to go in the books, but this is so weird because he locks them up in Region. He doesn't send them off. But in the show, he's going to send them off with Galadriel. And she so many times doesn't do the right thing. So I feel like, even though this episode ends and we don't know what she does, I feel like she's going to try and find Sauron still. Like, she's not going to go far away. She's not going to leave. Like, Sauron's just going to end up getting the rings anyways. Even though I would like to see her get away with them, because basically Celebrimbor was like giving up his life for those rings. So we'll see what she does. But I'm not 100% that she's going to do the right thing here and not let his life be in vain. I think that in this episode, there's so many like single moments, single lines, things that stand out to me, especially towards the end of this episode, that have very little to do with the fighting, even though the action and everything is really good. So after we have Galadriel with the rings, and then Celebrimbor like basically turns himself back in to Sauron, he's made a plan with these guards that they're going to attack Sauron when they get up there somehow. Even though this part's confusing to me because they already believe Sauron that Celebrimbor was like out of his mind and everything he said was crazy, and they're already ordering him to go back. So how come all of a sudden they were on his team? I don't get that part. Even with Galadriel saying, yeah, he's the leader of this place, I just feel like, is that really enough to overcome everything that's happened? Because Galadriel hasn't been there. So we get this moment where the guards all pull their swords on Sauron, and then he controls him with his Jedi force, Sauronness, I guess, and has them all turn the swords on themselves. And then we see him actually slit the throat of one of the guards. I think it's an interesting moment of like, it kind of looked cool because it just happened so fast, I guess. But in another way, it's just confusing to me because it's like he already had control of these people. How did he all of a sudden just not have control of them anymore? That didn't make any sense to me. And I feel like Sauron didn't need to do any more to show Celebrimbor that he had control over everything. So I think it's just a scene put in there because it looked cool, but it wasn't a scene to like that advance the storyline or showed us even more how manipulative and controlling Sauron is. I feel like we fully understand that at this point. Yeah, so Adar has this line of "My children march with me," and it looks like the one orc that we've seen be kind of the most loyal to him step back and not advance forward with everybody else. So we kind of have a little bit of that betrayal there. Then on top of that, we have the betrayal of actually seeing that the dwarfs didn't show up, and that Elrond sent his messenger, and the messenger was attacked for no reason, basically. He was supposed to meet with the dwarven army to bring him back, and he was injured. Not sure if he died in this moment or not, but it looked like he was pretty bad off. And then we kind of get this coup de grace, like this big moment of Arondir facing off with Adar. I hope Arondir is still alive, because I feel like this is a really bad way for him to go out. And we are in a world of like magical healing and all this kind of stuff. So I hope that he's not actually dead and that he can heal from this, but he's probably dead. Because I just like, this is not how he's supposed to go out against Adar. Like, he's an elf, he's a fighter, and Adar isn't those things. I don't think Adar is as near as good of a fighter as Arondir is, of how it's portrayed in the show. So it's just like a very strange moment of him dying to the villain for what? And now I think, what's the point of his whole story arc? What's the point of all this time on the show and his storyline and everything if that's how he's going to die? It just feels so unsatisfying and so like, what was the point of the whole first season of following this guy and seeing what he's involved in and him falling in love with this human woman and all of that? Like, what was the point of this entire storyline? So I'm very disappointed on that. Like, really? This is what's happening? This is how that ended? I don't know. I really hope he's still alive, and maybe this is just drama on my part, but I feel like I got through season 1, which was hard to get through and boring, and season 2 has been so much better. But if I found out I watched all of season 1 just for Arondir to die to Adar in this quick little fight when he has slain so many, and I don't even consider Adar like this big villain, like hard to beat guy, I will be so disappointed. Like, what the heck? Why did we even watch season 1? Just to keep bringing it down. We have Adar besting Elrond. Now, we don't see him kill him here. We know from Lord of the Rings that even though this is a separate show, Galadriel and Elrond are still alive in those days and still go on to fight the big war. So I don't think he's gonna die here, but it's like, 1, it was like, really, Adar bested him? And 2, really, he had Galadriel's ring with him? Really? She gave it to you to keep it out of the orcs' hands, to keep it as far away from these people as possible. And then you just wore it into battle. What? What? If you're going to keep them away, keep them away. We haven't seen anything that these rings do anything to help in battle whatsoever. And that they're just for preserving the elves' lands so that they don't die off, so the land doesn't die off, so that they don't have to leave Middle Earth. We haven't been shown that it does anything in battle. So why would you bring it in battle? I don't get it. I think the show started out strong. This episode started off strong. And then quickly it's just disappointed. But I guess we'll see in episode 8. I don't know. My final thoughts are that they had some good moments, some good one-liners, some good action. You know, there's some characters I really like, and I want to see more of them. And I want this to not be the end of some of the characters. So even though I really like this one, at the end of the episode, it was disappointing to me. So let me know what you guys think. Do you agree? Do you disagree with me? Don't forget to subscribe to the channel, like this video, and comment. Let me know what you thought of the episode. But besides that, I will see you next time for episode 8.